3 cases today, ladies and gentlemen. Starting with the Amherst Mystery, which is a bizarre poltergeist case. I call it a historic poltergeist case.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you call it that? It's a historic poltergeist
Yeah,
case.
absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a landmark case in that field. I mean,
I think a landmark case that most people don't know about. Now, 17-year-old Esther Cox, she's living in Amherst, Nova Scotia. A lot of crazy stuff happening in Canada, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the remote land up there.
Yeah. What I find here, there's a key difference. We have instances of fires starting up, everywhere, in the bed, on the walls, going up and stuff like that. You and I saw that actually in an episode we did on spontaneous human combustion, SHC,
right,
which is a fascinating phenomenon. I don't know necessarily this is spontaneous human combustion. No one's burning their body parts, but
right.
It does seem to me pyrokinesis, right? Maybe fire is manifesting in some way. How it's happening, we don't know, right? At one point they saw matches falling down out of the air, catching on fire midair and falling down to the floor. Now ruling out psychosis, ruling out all organic issues. Right. If we are if it's you and me, we're there and we see this, and we're using as a reasonable person.
Yep.
I would personally say that we're dealing with pyrokinesis. I think I would, and even if, let's say I knew nothing about the house at all, you tell me, John, come into this house here. I'm not going to tell you anything other than the fact that there are fires, starting here and here, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on, maybe stuff flying. I would immediately say, is there a young girl living in the house? And I would be right in this case, 17-year-old Esther Cox. I would have thought a little younger, but it's almost, this phenomenon is almost exclusively associated with females, or at least really overwhelmingly.
That's an interesting point. I never really thought about that.
Now, we do see it with males as well, but children in general, and I think overwhelmingly female. So I would say, I would examine this, and maybe it's an instance of a latent ability of pyrokinesis. She can start fires. Maybe she can, dare I say, affect, physical objects, right? Maybe through but here's the thing, through an unconscious will. That's my distinction there. That's what I see happening here. There's just one caveat.
Okay, let's hear it.
That is that, words were scratched above her, her bed into the wall. That said, Esther Cox, you are mine to unalive. 1878, that ghost or whatever it was knew it would make it to YouTube.
He knew it.
And it already provided the self-censor. So you can't yell at me for self-censoring, because that's how it came out.
He knew about the user agreements. He had to,
We've got multiple family members and neighbors witness this. Very similar to the Connecticut Bridgeport haunting.
Right, yeah, that's what I like
Not anywhere near that level.
Right.
Nothing could be possibly to that level. So Esther, she's at the center of all of this. Very much like every single horror movie you can possibly imagine. It's centered around one person, except this one, maybe this is the genesis of the horror trope.
Definitely, yeah, there you go.
It could be.
It's got to come from somewhere. Genesis. Yeah.
Well, we've got the wrappings on the wall, right?
Right.
We got stuff flying around. We've got the pyrokinesis. I don't know a lot about the details of this case because it happened so long ago, because there are questions that I would want to ask. I would want to know if there's any potential, I almost didn't self-censor. A history of SA in that family. That's what I would like to know. Right?
Yeah, I think that sort of thing was probably pretty run-of-the-mill back then.
Yeah, it would probably be more unusual.
A lot of family
you didn't
violence.
Encounter that,
right?
In some way in your family, or know somebody, right? Really.
I would have to have some sort of undeniable for something back at that time period. I'd have to have something a little bit more concrete to be able to say, yeah, this is what was happening, as opposed to either someone's mental state being kind of just out there and saying that this happened.
All right. Well, how about if you had a how about if this happened during George Washington's lifetime and you had a signed affidavit from him saying that this happened? Would that be enough for you?
That would carry some weight.
But would it be enough to prove to you that this happened. Obviously, let's bring it back further in time. Let's say it happened,
it would be enough for me to prove that something happened. What I believe
something
about
happened,
that something,
or prove that George Washington said that in an affidavit. Somebody could have held a gun to his head. You don't know.
A musket? Excuse me, sir. Please wait till I reload to sign that document.
Yeah, my point
Give me 45 minutes. He's holding me at gunpoint. You're just sitting here for an hour while he reloads. Yeah. Run away.
My point is that I think any skeptic is going to find holes in this. So is there anything that can convince us of something happening before the modern era? And I want to say, I'm going to tell you.
An excellent question.
For 99.999% of humanity, to which I'm not a member of, but I will speak for, the answer to that is it'll not be enough.
Right.
Okay.
I totally agree with you.
Right. Because we're used to right now creating a record. We have our digital trail. We know.
But
here's the one thing. Sites. Yeah. Go ahead.
Here's the way that I will argue with that is that when it comes to history or when it comes to anything you've been taught before, and now with the exception of people who question everything and question stuff, why do you know that this other stuff in history happened? Because somebody told you that it happened, right? So you're taking an account of something without really questioning it, saying, oh, I know this happened, or, this happened during the Civil War, X, Y, and Z happened back then, because somebody told it to you. Somebody taught you.
But
Mm-hmm.
In many of those cases, many of those instances, someone has told us something, and then we, in the modern era, have gone out and, for instance, corroborated the veracity of it by doing archaeological digs, right? Or maybe we find that one person said something and somebody else said the exact same, and everybody's saying the exact same thing, right? But in this case,
the point of it,
you only have an affidavit of George Washington saying that the Amherst
we're still
Poltergeist happened. Is that enough for you?
It's enough for me to know that something
been dead
happened
for a long time by the time this happened. Just FYI.
I would assume
clear.
So, yeah.
But would it be? It's hard. It's hard, and that's why I think people have a lot of problems. People have a lot of problems.
This is the investigative technique.
It's really hard to get. It's hard to get into that mode where we can really believe something from that era, because there's nothing compelling enough for us.
Right.
And we can't even relate. There's the matter of relating. I don't know how I can relate to that. We've got knockings. The knockings. I personally associate knockings, especially Raps of 3, with some kind of demonic entity, and that seems to be what the case is, right?
But in this tracks case, amongst a lot of our cases.
It is, and including the Bridgeport Poltergeist.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, however, she moved, okay? And then when she moved, it slowly kind of just dissipated and it just went away. It did follow her, and it slowly died over time, faded out. And she returned to a life of normalcy, and I believe she married twice after that. So, it's hard. It's really hard to, to build a case. We have a lot of witnesses, okay? Mm-hmm. Multiple family members. We've got the brother-in-law. He extinguished the fires. People saw stuff. Yeah. Maybe if I was around then, I might be able to believe it more. Even after all this, even if we were to assume this is all true, I still have a hard time believing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I get it.
How's that for being open-minded? It's hard. But let's bring us to the next one. We did a video on a CIA operation, MKOFTEN. MKOFTEN. We've got a government program that's designed to study the occult. Okay? CIA agents hiring palmists. They had 3 astrologers on staff.
Mm-hmm.
They walked a psychic medium through the UN with an agent trailing behind and filming discreetly. And they asked the psychic medium to signal whenever he, or I think it was he actually, sensed an evil personality. They did that for about, I think, 2 weeks. And in that time, guess how many evil personalities they found?
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah. Well, the answer is 0.
No, really?
I'm not even kidding you. 0, right?
Wow.
In New York.
Backfired.
In New York.
That's how you know it's bullshit.
I know.
No way.
Seriously? Okay. Feel a little bit better about myself now. I didn't mention this in the video. Perhaps I should have. People want to know what MK stands for. Now, there were a bunch of MK programs. MK Ultra.
Yeah. MK Ultra,
Chipwit. MK Chipwit. MK Search. It stands for mind control. The K is a purposeful misspelling. It's misspelled that way as a nod to the German word for control, which is Kontroll.
I love those crafty Germans.
Yeah, which is the exact same word with a K. So, exact. It even sounds the same.
Very, very secretive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. First off, what did the CIA do? One of the craziest things they did was in the 1970s. This is insane. They secretly funded, get this, a program at the University of South Carolina that would teach people how to raise the dead, necromancy, black magic, okay, fertility rituals. I know you'd want to be part of that. Yep, that's what they do. They had a lecture on this, and they had 250 people enrolled to see that lecture.
Yeah, I believe it.
I'd be enrolled in there in a second.
Of course you would.
That would be fascinating. I mean, obviously they didn't let everyone know it was CIA funded. I want to point that out. It was
but
done
their programs with that are extensive. I mean, they had a whole program throughout, I think it was the 70s and 80s, on remote viewing. And
yes,
you know, under this program.
They did.
And I mean, they experiment with everything, man. If it's out there like in the world, they're going to see if they can use it to their advantage.
The concept is that they wanted to explore, some argue that they wanted to explore belief, not necessarily the occult itself. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they would observe rituals and sorcery being done. I don't know. Maybe that is. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's a half-truth. Maybe they wanted to see if it worked, and in the event that it did, they could weaponize it.
Absolutely, right? Hands down.
I mean, 100%. It seems that makes sense.
100%.
Would you take that class if it was available?
It sounds kind of interesting.
One of the things with this MKOFTEN, right? The CIA says, yes, it existed. We did have an MKOFTEN, okay? But it had nothing to do with black magic, sorcery. That's crazy talk.
Classic CIA.
Okay? All we were doing was, dousing soldiers with a nerve agent and see what they did, what happened to them. It's not like we were doing black magic.
Yeah, come on now. It's ridiculous.
The whole concept is ridiculous. So they dosed a couple of, and actually it was going on. They were dosing volunteers and probably, I'm going to assume, purportedly not volunteers, with a nerve agent,
Voluntold.
To see what happens to them or whatever. I mean, so that's what they said. They had 2 volunteers. They gave them a nerve agent, and they watched what happened. Great. But we didn't do anything with black magic, and anyone that says anything to the contrary is a liar.
Yeah, they're crazy. Blackball them. They're nuts. Don't trust them.
That's how it went for years and years until Gordon Thomas, he came out and said, "Hey, no. I've done investigative journalism on this. I've investigated this." He wrote a book on it. This is not just some schmo. Okay, this guy's got a pretty nice CV. He was a BBC correspondent, or just something in the BBC, and he wrote numerous books. Okay, 50+ books. He's a heavy investigative journalist with several outstanding books. Okay, this guy's top notch, and he writes a book all about everything that he found out about MKOFTEN's black magic program. Okay, so he found there is a black magic program, and he lays it out. He lays the whole thing out in his book. Okay, he says it on December 1972. Okay, the CIA director Helms got some information. Apparently, that information was so earth-shattering to him that he killed the program with 2 words: read, destroy. That's it. Later on, they cited moral and ethical concerns. That's impressive. The CIA citing moral and ethical concerns.
That takes a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot.
That's almost like the irony there is almost
right.
like they did it as a joke.
We just really wanted to see how far we could take the taxpayer's dollar.
Just wanted to see if people actually believe we have morals.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, who knows? I guess it really begs the question: Did they, perform some ritual or witness a ritual and then witness something happen? Maybe you got a report saying, "Hey, listen, we were watching this ritual, this fertility ritual, and all of a sudden some demon beast rises, or something like that, jumps out, and we had to shoot it. We had to shoot it. We had to end the whole thing. You shoot him into space or something like that." So yeah. I'm impressed with this guy's background.
Sure.
He's a heavy hitter in the investigative journalist
Absolutely.
world.
That counts, yeah.
It does. He's brought this out and said this and this has happened. Now, what he has said runs against what the government has said. So the only thing working against him is what the government says. So the government says A, and he says A and B.
Mm-hmm. As if they're ever just going to be like, oh, yeah, no, he's right. Yeah, we can corroborate that.
They may be right. Maybe he's maybe he wrote one too many books, okay? And he, I don't know. But some may choose to discredit him. If you take the time to look up Gordon Thomas, he's got quite the impressive, he's a big guy. He's a big maca, as they say here in New York. He's a big maca. Do you think that it's so outlandish to think?
Not at all.
Okay, so
nope.
you do.
I'm going to stop you right there. Nope.
Okay, but then how do you explain that the University of South Carolina has no records of the course, even though 250 students were enrolled in it?
That's easy, man. See, this is so, we're not talking about supernatural. We're not talking about poltergeist. We're not talking about how do you explain something, walk through the wall. This is CIA stuff. That is making stuff on paper disappear. That's just a normal Tuesday.
There are people right now that are watching this live cast. One of them,
it's possible,
very well may have gone to the University of South Carolina in 1970s and enrolled in a course about black magic and sorcery.
Mm-hmm.
I would love, and as I said in the video released, if anybody has a course catalog from around that time or remembers. I mean, there are 250 people that were enrolled. Do you think the school was instructed to purge their records?
I mean, I don't know if it goes that far, or even, I mean, I don't put it past the CIA to be able to just delete that stuff or get rid of that stuff. They have the capability to do all kinds of scrubbing and record details. I mean, that's what they do. It's how they stay alive. I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist, like crazy nut.
Too late.
But that's the nature of their existence. That's what they do.
So, but how about
whether they even had to go that far to threaten them to remove it? I don't know.
But you've got the bursar, the registrar. These are people that are obviously going to, the IT department that had to put it on their website. Well, they probably didn't have a website in 1970s.
Yeah, I don't think they did.
But somebody had to print it out and put it on the course catalog. There were 250 people enrolled. What are you going to tell me? The CIA went to all 250 people, plus everyone that went to the school said, you say anything about this black magic course? And
no, because I don't think it's that difficult. You're forgetting that it doesn't have to be that extensive. Because even if you compile a list of students and a course catalog and a flyer and all this information, and you go to them and you say, we can prove that you did this, they're going to just say, no, we didn't.
Yes, then I believe you, government. That's my response.
Of course.
I have no other option until that is disproven. Whatever they say, right, we have to take at face value, right?
Wow.
I have to assume that they're being forthcoming.
No, you don't have to, but...
Why not?
Not in the face of evidence saying they're not, but that's just their tactic.
Evidence?
They don't. I'm saying even if you gather those source materials, if you can find a course catalog.
I wanted to find his source materials, but he actually didn't write about it in his book. Who knows? Maybe the government's confiscated his source materials. I would love to know where he got it. He doesn't talk about it specifically, but I would love to know. Maybe he has course catalog, or had. He's dead now.
I would assume that in order for him to go that far, he would have had something that pointed in that direction. But again,
this is a guy who was known for his investigative journalism on like world leaders. They're saying in our find out if the school burned down, all the records gone. I don't know. Is the University of South Carolina? Do you think they burned down?
I mean, there's nothing to say. There's one of those stories where all of a sudden, oh yeah, there was a flood in the records department and all these things are gone. That's the style of the way they did things back then. Maybe the guy's apartment got broken into one day. Oh, it just so happens this was stolen. X, Y, and Z. You know?
That's a good point. I wonder if maybe they
This
had
is not the digital age. You don't need to threaten people. You're right.
They had renovations going on.
You don't need to be that overt in terms of saying, hey, don't talk about this.
They have a really good point, though, here. They're saying South Carolina does have a lot of religious folks. That's a good point. So I might say, actually, to that point, I would think the South Carolinians would, have a problem with that.
Say something, yeah.
You got 250 people showing up for this class in the Bible Belt. What the heck's going on over here?
Well, University of South Carolina, if I remember, is in Charleston. Charleston's a pretty bustling city. There's a lot of transplants in Charleston.
I've never been there.
It's nice.
But this would have been in the 1970s. We don't see no carpetbaggers back then.
What a term. What a term.
Jeez Louise.
I mean, it without a doubt happened. It's the exact type of thing that has been their MO for decades. It absolutely happened.
I wouldn't doubt it if they've hosted
no doubt in my
other courses.
There's
as well.
probably so many more courses in college level things over the past decades that we don't know about or
We got to try to find them and sign up.
There's no speculation about that. I guarantee you, we're probably fronts for that.
I want to enroll only in the classes that they are offering.
I'm sure they have recruitment classes there too, where certain programs that they recruit people out of.
That's possible.
It's absolutely true.
Come to the CIA, and you'll get to learn how to do this. Wingardium Leviosa. How much want to bet we get sued by what's her face?
Yeah, I can't do that.
I know. Yeah, she's.
But you probably didn't say it right.
No, I think I did. Wingardium Leviosa. Well,
don't do it again. Why would you say it again?
You primed me for that. They terminate the program. We find out for moral and ethical considerations as well as national security considerations. Did they open up a portal to HE double hockey stick? Am I even allowed to say that on YouTube? I don't know. I don't even know if I can say that. Let's move on to the next one. This is a video that was only for the paid subscribers. Okay. This one is the Zigmund Adamski case. Okay. It's kind of a twofer. This is a bizarre case. Okay. This one happened in 1980. Okay. And this was in West Yorkshire, England. Zigmund Adamski, 1980. This guy is a coal miner in a town called Tingley. Got it? Got that?
Yep, sounds like England. Tracks.
He's married, a loving wife. One day he says, I got to go to the grocery store. Gets his wallet, walks outside because it's within walking distance. Not seen again. She's freaking out. Where's my husband? They eventually get this. 5 days later, his body is found 20 miles away in another town, and in a town called Todmorden. They find him in another town. Where do they find him? They find him on top of a 10-foot pole, 10-foot high coal pile. Now, you might say, first question, is that the mine that he worked at?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. In fact, he had no reason to ever go to Todmorden. We don't know whether he actually ever had been there. It's not like he was having a secret affair there. He never went there. He had no reason to go there, no relatives, no friends, nothing in there. And he certainly didn't work in that mine. He worked in a mine close to where he lived in Tingley. Now, it gets weird. Ladies and gentlemen, it gets weird. It gets weird. They go to examine his body. The person that finds his body is the son of the owner of that coal mine.
Mm-hmm.
He sees Ziggy. He goes by the name Ziggy. He sees him up there, and he notices he's laid out like this. But here's what's crazy. The first police constable, they call it, on the job, okay, he shows up. His name is Godfrey, and he notices something kind of weird. The guy's clothes doesn't have any coal dust on it. He's dressed in his suit. His clothes looks like they were kind of like put on for him. He's missing a shirt, okay, but his pants look like they were fastened, but he's got a suit jacket and stuff like that. And I'll stress it again, no coal dust. So there's no way to get on top of that coal pile without getting coal dust all over you. So that leaves the only other option, which was that he was placed. Correct. So someone placed him there. Okay. Now, I almost left something out. Well, when they found his body, his face was frozen in a face of absolute terror. Like that, something like that. Like, oh, something horrible. Autopsy said he died of a heart attack. Okay. Now, it gets weirder. Scared to death, possibly. But here's what's interesting. He was missing for 5 days before they found him, ladies and gentlemen. 5 days missing before they found him. But the stubble on his face was only a day old.
Oh.
He was missing a wallet and his watch, both known to be on him when he left.
Any marks or injuries on him?
Yes. He had a strange rash burn on his neck and shoulders.
Okay.
And one other thing. The burns seem to have been treated by some kind of ointment that they could not determine what it was. No idea. The labs, they looked at it, no idea. No idea what it was. But it was the best that they could guess, and this is just a guess, is that it was some kind of homemade remedy or something like that.
Yeah.
They don't know, but they don't know what the substance is. They couldn't figure it out, but it appeared to have been treated with some strange ointment, those burns.
Wow,
so that's the story. Now, like I said, he wasn't running around with somebody. What do you think it is? You think somebody jumped him? I've been mugged 3 times. I didn't end up on a coal pile.
Well, right, and he would have some kind of visible, extensive physical injuries if he was beaten up. That's why I asked that.
Restrained?
If he was beaten up, tortured, right.
What about the stubble? That means somebody groomed him. And I want to just point that out. The autopsy said that he clearly had been groomed.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
All that means is that he was alive yesterday.
He disappeared, and they found him 5 days later with only a day's worth of There is no way that this is a 5-day beard.
Okay, well,
so who cut his hair in that time?
It at least proves to us that he was alive the day before he was found.
Also, which is you can't go more than 3 days without water. So what's the deal? Somebody gave him water. Somebody groomed him.
Somebody was taking care of him. Yeah.
To what end? To what end? For his wallet and his watch?
No, clearly, definitely not a robbery. Then
well,
they wouldn't have abducted him.
His wallet and his watch were missing.
Okay, maybe they took a liking to it while they had him in whatever captivity he was in.
Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a possibility here.
Let's hear it.
Because 5 months later, that officer, the same officer that was the first guy on site, first guy on the scene, he, early morning, still dark, he was asked to go, somebody called up and said, hey, my cows are missing. So he's out patrolling, trying to find them. And I bring that up for a reason. 5 months later, this happens. Now, he's driving down that stretch, which is right in front of this place, and he sees what he initially thinks is a school bus that's like parked squat in the middle of the road. As he approaches, he sees that it's actually a levitating spacecraft with a bottom a rotating mechanical bottom. He sees what he describes as portholes, okay? That's what he says. He says, I saw this. Flashes a bright light. The next thing he remembers, he's now way further down the road than he was, and he cannot account for the last missing 20 minutes of his life. So now, and by the way, he stuck to his story, he reported it, and he ruined his police career.
Yeah.
It was gone. He
ended
up getting fired. It was horrible. It was a terrible end for him for just being honest about what happened. Terrible.
That's why people don't talk about stuff like that.
Yeah, that was the 1980s. Hopefully, we're more open-minded. I think to some extent we are.
That's really interesting.
So now let's look at these two. This is the last of the three cases. Let's look at this now in tandem. They're not necessarily related, but I point this out because this guy's missing for 5 days, shows only a single day's worth of growth on his face. I'm thinking, how do we know that he wasn't taken, right?
Right.
It brings me back. What was he doing? He was looking for cows.
Who, the police officer?
Yeah, he was out there looking for cows, cattle mutilations, cattle abductions. Cattle are frequently in that area of England and the American Midwest. Okay, cattle are taken, and then they're found later completely fine. They're returned. Sometimes they're found with burns and injuries almost identical to this guy's burns and injuries. However, theirs weren't treated.
Right.
They were surgical precision, organs and pieces of flesh were removed. With this guy, he was burned up and then treated with some weird compound that they couldn't figure out what it was.
Right.
Do you think?
Right, and even some.
Is this related? We've got 3 incidents. The cow incidents. The cow, by the way, was later found. Just let's all take a
sigh of relief. Thank goodness.
Yeah, the cows were found alive and well, to the best of my knowledge. Okay, so I agree. It is related. Yes. So we've got the cow issue. We've got the same cop her career is ruined. Okay, he said what I just said, and then we got the guy that disappears, ends up on a coal pile. Doesn't mean that any of them are related. It could also mean that just the cows and the other thing were related, and this was separate. I don't know. We will point out. I'll say it again. His wallet was missing. Now, it's possible that he was, I don't know, abducted. Let's say he was abducted, right? Abducted by aliens or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's why he's been groomed because time, I don't know, whatever, disappeared for him. It's possible that when they returned him unconscious, somebody, happened upon him and, hey, listen, there's a guy, I'm going to take his Rolex and his wallet. Thanks a lot. It's the presidential edition, the one I always wanted. Thanks. They could have done that.
You can't rule out anything once you're talking about that stuff. But
because
I would think they're in relation somehow. I mean, maybe he dropped them. Maybe when he was getting taken.
How do you account for his shirt, his clothes being put on by someone else and his shirt missing?
You can't account for anything once you're talking about this stuff. I mean, it's, I don't know, but it's an incredibly strange occurrence. And when you pair it with those other happenings, I don't know if you can explicitly say that they're related, but it's enough circumstantially to make you think about stuff. I mean,
I don't know.
You have to consider with those circumstances. I mean, you would be able to tell if somebody climbed up a mountain of coal.
Oh, absolutely.
To put him there, or if he climbed up it, you'd be able to tell all of that stuff.
You would think. You would think.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Maybe he was returned. Maybe he was abducted by, dare I say, extraterrestrials, just to go with the whole motive that's going on here. And he was returned. But apparently these beings from a highly intelligent nature were not smart enough to know that he didn't live in Todmorden, that he lived in Tingley. They couldn't figure that one out.
Maybe they didn't care.
They cared in the case of the officer Godfrey. They returned him in the general vicinity, about further up the road, but he was still in the general vicinity, and he was missing 20 minutes of his life. I wonder if that was, now this is something I'd like to know, how far away he was from where he disappeared. He disappeared for 20 minutes. Right. How far did he travel? Did he travel all the way to Todmorden?
Well, maybe that's your answer. Maybe he was gone for 20 minutes and went a little bit down the road. This guy was gone for 5 days and went 20 miles away.
Yeah,
maybe
that's a really good
some
question.
Correlation there.
And I agree. I do think it's related with our live people here. I do believe they're related because it just seems really weird. And also the fact that this guy was willing to risk his career. His career was ruined. And FYI, to this day, he's never retracted. He never retracted it. He stood by it. Even in the face of all that stuff. He lost his career. He was a mockery of town. Everybody, all this stuff. He stuck to that story. And he faced the consequences. Yeah,
you have to believe in that. You have to believe in something when it comes to that level of conviction.
Somebody might say, hey, maybe he had a seizure, or he entered. Better yet, he entered a fugue state. a fugue state where you're completely not. You are acting. You are unconsciously, almost like somnambulism.
It's like you black out. Yeah.
You're like, you may be drinking water. Mm-hmm. You could be doing this podcast. I could be doing this podcast right now. Boom, and it's over. I get out. I'm like, hey, Jimmy, I thought we were going to do a podcast. You're like, John, we just finished doing it.
Generally how I assume you go through most of life.
in a dissociative fugue.
Yep.
That works out pretty well. So we've got 3 cases here, 3 unusual cases. Let's start with the first one. Amherst Mystery, Poltergeist, 17-year-old girl lighting fires in her bed. One time, by the way, this is unusual. I mentioned it. I didn't mention it before. We got a whole set dining room table. The dining room cloth flies off it, knocked my hat off, and flies over her face and kind of like, your typical horror movie fashion, tries to suffocate her that way. I mean, crazy stuff going on. But this happened once again, 1878. It's kind of long ago. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. We know people may have been more easily convinced of crazy stuff, maybe, because we don't know what's going on in those people's lives back then.
Right.
It's not to our standards of record keeping. I think it's easily we're going to look for any excuse to dismiss this other than just taking all these people at their word. So
yeah, I would need more from that one.
I need more from that one too. I feel that there's a lot of it's unfair, but given how old it is, we can't make a determination.
Right.
However, if I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, I'll say fine, probably a manifestation of that 17-year-old girl's latent psychic abilities is what I would say. But that would be crazy of me to say, so I won't. Next, Operation Often.
Yeah.
Do we believe what the government says, which is, hey, all we did was poison a couple of our own soldiers with a nerve agent. It's not like we went around and did black magic.
No.
Do we believe that?
No.
Are you just saying no because you don't believe the government in general?
No, I work for the government. I'm saying no because...
But not the federal government.
There is a documented history of those tactics that they... I'm not saying there's some kind of broad, bad conspiracy thing going on here. I'm just saying... That's what they do. They do things like that. That's how they kind of keep the pulse on what's going on. Yeah, they bring people in without telling them what they're doing or what they're there for, and they observe them. They see what happens. They see if there's anything they could use to their advantage. That's like 101.
Okay, and then why are they lying?
I totally believe that. Why? Because that's just what they do.
I mean, they've come out clean about some pretty crazy stuff. Why lie and say this didn't happen? It's not that big of a deal. You funded a sorcery class. I'm sure in 2025, I'm sure we could probably look up sorcery classes right now. There's probably thousands of them.
Without a doubt, there definitely
is. I'm sure. Put it this way, I'll take what they say with a grain of salt. Because they've taken positions before, and then when they've gotten cornered, they reverse their positions. Yep. Now, this doesn't mean, I have to put it out there, that they're overtly lying. Right. I would say that many people in the government, probably those responsible also for, responding to FOIL and FOIA requests, they may not even be aware of this program. So they're going to respond.
That's a great point.
This is all we know that's going on. So, a lot of those records were destroyed. Okay. We only found out about this during a congressional hearing. But prior to that, all these records were purged. Finally, we're moving on to the last brief. So, did we come to an disposition? Yeah, probably it happened. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. I'm more sure about that than I am about the 1878 Poltergeist in Amherst.
Agreed.
Would you agree with that? Okay.
Yes.
So the last one here, Ziggy Adamski. Okay. It could be unrelated incidents. And that we're just trying to draw some kind of causality because we're conspiracy minded. I certainly, I primed it there by releasing this information in a piecemeal fashion to kind of force you to see my hypothesis. So
yeah.
But even now, if you take a step back objectively, what do we think happened here? Did a guy get mugged, brought?
No, I don't think so.
Why was he laid out on a? Let me ask you something. Why would you lay someone out on top of a coal pile unless you wanted him to be found?
Yeah, or unless you wanted him to be staged in a way where people questioned the manner in which he was put there. That's making a statement. That's making some kind of statement piece. out of his discovery. It's not just, all right, let's dump him, let's get out of here. There's a reason why somebody, if it was a somebody that did that, there's a reason why they would do that. But I will tell you, without committing either way on what I think about it, there's enough there for me to want to sit down and kind of dive into that and kind of piece out those cases a little bit more.
Yeah.
And see what else is there. Like, go through those files. There's enough there to make it interesting.
I'd want to know who the caller was that subsequently, 5 months later, called in about the missing cows. I want to investigate that person. I want to investigate the circumstances. When did the cows go missing? When was the last time you saw them? And I want to know more about the distance that this guy traveled in the time that he's missing time, the 20 minutes of missing time. As far as Mr. Adamski, Ziggy, is going, I would like to know about his family history. Now, they didn't say anything about any kind of domestic violence, whether it's marital bliss or if it's just a normal relationship this guy's having, right? He just went off. It's not like, hey, honey, I'm going to get cigarettes, and then you disappear, and meanwhile he starts another family somewhere. Yeah. This guy just disappeared, and he was planning on coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know if he made it to the store. I'd like to know. There's a couple things in there I'd like to dive into. It's very, very interesting.
If, for instance, somebody, maybe a viewer, says, hey, I was at University of South Carolina in 1970s, okay? In 1971, between 70 and 71, or 70 and 71. I was there. I remember the course. I sat in the course. My friend was in the course. Everybody was talking about it. This can't be like, it's a course. Yeah, don't tell anybody about it. 250 people showed up for this course. It had to be the talk of the school.
They're never going to admit involvement in it. They're just going to say, nah, I don't know what you're talking about.
The Adamski one, it's a little messy. Yeah. It's a little messy, though, for me.
Yeah, but there's enough question marks there. It's intriguing me.
It's hard for me to say they're connected because we got to get boots on the ground.
You can't honestly say that they are.
The answer is always it depends. It's a case-by-case basis. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our live stream. We've gone over 3 cases. Come to a disposition of our opinion as to the disposition of 3 of them. We think the MKOFTEN one is legitimate.
Yeah.
Amherst Mystery, unable to determine.
Unfounded, yeah.
Possibly unfounded. Mr. Adamski, Ziggy, I want to know more.
Yeah, something happened there.
I'm willing. Something happened there, and I do think the cases are connected. I believe with our viewers. I agree with our viewers. I think these cases are connected. I want to find out. I would like to contact. In fact, I think I may. I'm going to reach out to that local police station, and I'm going to say, hey, listen, can you send me some of your records? And, also a couple guns as well. Thank you.
And we're banned.
Shadow ban. Forget about shadow ban. That's an overt ban. Yeah, that's not good. Anyway, listen. Thank you, everybody, for joining us at America's Strangest History Studio for our live chat. Jimmy Malloy. I hope you join us again soon for another live stream. And we're going to go over 3 more cases that we did. And then we'll have some other good stuff coming up. Thanks for joining.